would like to introduce James Burton with ABQ Metro Crime Stoppers.
So I'm going to use this corner, that way you guys don't have to stare at my backside the entire time. So, my name is James Burton. Can you guys all hear me back there? I'll try to project really well so that make it easy on everybody. So, I'm with APD and I work specifically with Crime Stoppers. So Crime Stoppers, you're going to hear my brief history and then I'm going to go into a wonderful explanation of what we do. So brief history time. For all of you history buffs, Crime Stoppers was actually started here in Albuquerque and is now an international organization. So that means we have gone worldwide. That's how awesome our program is. So for those of you that don't know, what basically happened is here in Albuquerque back in 1976, there was a detective for the department. There was a homicide. And I won't go into all the specifics. If you really want to learn more about it, I have wonderful flyers out there. And you can also go to my website, which I will talk about a little bit later. But there was a homicide. And the detective promised the family saying, I'm going to solve this case. And 6 weeks later, the case was still not solved. So the detective got this wild idea. He said, you know what, I'm going to try to hook up with the media and recreate this case. And we're going to try something new. I'm going to offer a reward and ask for anonymous tips. And lo and behold, it totally worked. He got a great tip about a vehicle that was seen leaving the scene of the crime. And he followed up on the tip and boom, he got the offender. So he followed with this and started using this plan. And what he discovered is that the community and the police department were kind of clashing because the community didn't want to totally get involved for two big reasons. One of those was fear. People were afraid of these criminals coming back in retribution. And the other one was apathy. People just didn't really want to get involved in this stuff. And so the ways to combat this was he was going to make it anonymous. Make it so that people didn't have to worry about their identities being known. And two, he was going to offer a reward. Make an incentive so that people did want to get involved. And so that's how Crime Stoppers came to be. So that's what, let's jump ahead now to today. So I run the program today, and that's exactly what we do. I offer an anonymous system for you to provide me with tips, and I offer a reward about it. Up to $1,000 reward, and some special cases where we actually go above $1,000. So now here's the meat and potatoes. How does it work, right? So I work between the community and the police department. So let's use for an example something you see on the news. So you see on the news some case like there was a robbery into some business. So you see on the news, hey, there was this robbery, and let's say there's a, I'm going to use something we just had recently. Person at Lowe's did an armed robbery. Okay, so Lowe's had an armed robbery, and they show this guy's face, and you're like, you know what? That's so-and-so down the street. And so you give me a call. So I have 3 methods you can contact me soon to be 4. So my 3 methods are you can call me at 843-STOP, you can email me on my website, crimestoppersnm.com, or you can text me. You text APD and your tip to 274-637. I have to look down because I don't always remember that one. But if you go to the website, it's there, so you can always look it up. And it's all anonymous, again. So when you text me, this is what happens, or when you call me, I give you a tip number. That's the only way I know who you are. I don't ask for your name. I don't ask for your social security number. I don't ask for your bank account. I don't ask for your background so I can steal your identity and clear you out. And if I did, that would be really suspicious, and you guys should be questioning me, who I am and what's going on. Nope, I don't ask for any of that stuff. All I ask you for is your information. And I give you that tip number, and then it's your duty to call me back and check up on the status of the tip. And when you do, you go, hey, I want to check up on the tip, and I'll ask you, what's your tip number? And you'll check, and I go, hey, that was a good tip. That helped us get an arrest. And if you did, if it was an arrest, then you're eligible for a reward. I do payouts once a month. I'll tell you to call me back on this date, and I'll tell you how much you've been rewarded and how to go about getting your reward. And it's super secret squirrel stuff, and packed back in a back shaded alley, and we'll wear trench coats and hand out bags. Just kidding, it's not like that at all. Actually, it just has to do with, we have a certain bank we use, and we have a certain method about how you go about getting it. So we'll never see each other, I'll never know who you are. It's very safe, and it's very confidential. But it works fantastic. We've had tons of successes. It's constantly helping us get bad guys off the street and helping you guys, because you help us and we help you. So it's been a fantastic program, and obviously I love it. That's why I work it. The funds. So let's get to the funds. How do we fund it? Is it your taxpayer dollars? No. It is all community oriented. I have a civilian board that reviews all of my payouts, and every dollar that comes into it is from donations. So it's all community funded. I actually ask people like yourselves to make donations. Community leaders, I approach businesses, I approach everything and anybody that I can to help fund our program. So it actually comes all from community donations. I do tell you that I have a deal with the court systems, so I can actually have officers make criminals as part of their sentencing. I'd like the criminal to pay a donation to Crime Stoppers. That means I get to have the criminals that I use get put into jail, pay money to Crime Stoppers, so even the criminals get to pay me. Yay! Fantastic. So that's a fantastic thing for me, but everything comes from donations. So it's a fantastic program, and I continuously work to progress it and improve it. So yes, question in the back. Sir.
Yes. Since you guys got so many good programs, you know, why we have crime keeps rising?
Because criminals keep getting out.
What percentage rising?
So unfortunately, right now I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do work in a fantastic area where they do crime analysis. So my unit is part of a program called the Real-Time Crime Center, and part of that is also crime analysis. And so they watch those numbers. And you are going to be hearing from the group after me, which is on the schedule. Whoa, let me look. Yes, the district attorney's office. And so I'm going to be giving a little shout out to them. A little shout out because they're coming in after me. But your new DA is a fantastic individual who has been working with APD and Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office to improve what you're just talking about, which is, for a long time we've been getting a lot of this turnaround, which is we arrest and send them to jail, and they get slapped on the hand and released. And our new DA is really working hard, again, with officers and detectives to stop that problem and get them staying in jail. Yes?
Hi, I'm sorry, it's the first time at one of these meetings, so I don't know when to ask a certain question. But upon that, isn't also part of the problem, it's overpopulation in the jails, that judges feel like, well, you know, I have to let this one go. Yeah.
I'm not the best person to ask that, I'll be honest. But possibly.
That is not.
That's
not happening right
that's
now.
not the case. In fact, right now they're shutting down wings of the jail because there's space available.
Perfect people to ask.
So I understand how the police department works. My husband's been a cop for 18 years, sergeant with APD. So I want to know who we write, how do we get rid of the judges that are not putting these people away? How do we fight as citizens, not against the police department, because obviously I'm married to it, but the, you know, Santa Fe or whoever's in control. I mean, I don't know, is it just, you know, I could say something very rude right now. I just want to, because I know they're all related.
So we had an excellent speaker last month. I apologize for interrupting.
No, I love you guys.
We had a speaker last month, Denise Torres from JPEC, the Judicial Performance Evaluation Commission, which is a state board that reviews judges. They solicit feedback from every officer that interacts with the judge through a case that they're on. They solicit feedback from prosecutors and from defense attorneys.
As well as police officers.
Asking for feedback on judges, so that's a great source. It's all online. They review judges, I believe it's annually, and they work with judges to try and improve their scores. They score judges, and they release information on that. So that's one resource. And certainly, I guess, just talking to police officers is another great way.
So they come up to be retained every few years. It's not every year or every 2 years, and they're all cycled at different times. So you can go to that website when they are up to be retained and vote them out.
Okay.
So that's one for the judges. The other big thing is, every year, our representatives go to legislative session to change laws, to make stronger laws. If you want to change laws or make laws stronger, write emails, go visit your representatives in the Senate and the House.
Sir. And then I'll come to you.
What's Greg McAleese doing now? That's
He-
part one, I have a question.
Greg McAleese, you know, it's funny because he was just out here last month because we just celebrated our 40th anniversary. So I want to say he's back in the Philippines now. He was a pastor in a church out in the Philippines. But if you've been watching politics, things have been shaky in the Philippines, so I don't know if he's planning to stay there or leave. He was looking to come back here, but I don't know if that's still his plans.
Okay, the second part.
Yes.
I go to meetings and take minutes, and in 2005, I went to the state of the city. And it was announced at that point, in 2005, there were 1,000 police. What happened between 2005 and now? There were 1,000 police in 2005.
Part of it is attrition. Back in the early 90s, we had a lot of officers going through the police academy, and they are now, in the last 5 years, they're coming to their end of their careers, and we can't recruit the number of officers to enter the police academy. So part of it is attrition. We just don't have the interest in the younger population becoming police officers. In addition, the individuals that do sign up or express interest, they don't follow through. They don't show up to testing. We get 1,200 interest cards, per testing month or cycle, and a very small fraction of that shows up to take the written test. So, and then through the hiring process and the background checks, it filters out, and we only get 30 to 50 people in our police academy out of 1,500, 1,600 people.
So it's very sad.
It is, I agree.
I go to the neighborhood association meetings and people are scared, they're afraid. And they talk to the city councilman and they say, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Yet when I'm afraid to walk my dog and to go over there, and I walked by Big Five and somebody took a sledgehammer to the back there a month ago.
But this
And
is
they
a,
take wire cutters and cut the wires and.
this is an issue that's all across the country, not just in Albuquerque.
Right.
Where police departments all over are competing for a very small pool of qualified applicants. So it's not something that's unique to Albuquerque or New Mexico. And a lot of people, the millennials, they don't want to work at something. That is an issue sometimes. But it's when we have, 8,000, 18,000 different police departments all across the country competing for the same number of people, it's going to be hard.
And that's one of the reasons why APD has been so innovative when it comes to looking at making positions that are civilianized. So like our crime scene investigators, they all used to be sworn police officers. They're now civilians that have expert backgrounds in crime scene investigation and doing those forensics. So those were officers that we were able to take and put out onto the streets. The new property crime specialists that we just mentioned, those people are not sworn police officers, so they don't have to have the same college requirements, pass a polygraph, the different psychological exams, because they're not carrying guns in our city. So those are civilian positions that we've been able to help alleviate some of the work from the actual field officers. So even though we're not able to maybe get 1,000 tomorrow, we're looking at innovative ways in transforming those positions and getting that work done. I want the community to know is, you're hearing shortage and shortage, yes, but our numbers are building. Last year alone, we recruited the most cadets that we have in more than a decade. So we graduated 96 people from the APD Academy, which was a huge number for us. And this year our goal is 100. So we're working efficiently and effectively on that recruiting component, but it's going to take a little bit of time.
And I do want to point out that all of City Council is all for the budget and hiring new police officers. So I hate when I keep hearing, city council doesn't want to pay for officers. That is not the case. It's just we're having a hard time recruiting new officers. They are all for budgeting for more officers.
And I do want to reiterate, the officers that are coming out of the academy right now, I've been fortunate in the Northeast Area Command to have a dozen of them or more. And the quality that the police academy is producing is excellent. They're qualified officers, they're problem solvers, they're active in the community, and they've all have been quality cadets and quality police officers. So that's a positive. So that means our training is effective.
So I sympathize with the concerns here that really, this crime problem it's been out of hand and it's getting worse, but I do want to steer the topic back to James here and let him talk about the important work that Crime Stoppers do, because there's two sides of crime. There's preventing crime and then there's solving crime, and I think that's a really important thing.
So in the very far back.
Hi, my name is Liz Thompson. I'm a state representative, and I'm out here to hear things and learn things. But what I would encourage you all to do is find out who your state representative. My district is south of here, roughly Momas to Spain, between Wyoming and Montebo, but not nearly that clear and clean. But I would encourage you to find out who your senator and representative is and call them now and ask them out to coffee or dinner or whatever, and talk to them about what your concerns are in terms of what we can do in Santa Fe to make new laws, make the laws that we have better. Now is a really good time to do that, and it's great if we know you. I mean, if you can be our expert on whatever subject you're interested in, because needless to say, we have our own. I mean, I'm a pediatric physical therapist. I know kids, I know healthcare, and I know education. Crime is outside of my. So, but I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure your other representatives and senators would love to hear from you as well.
One quick question, do we hire mercenaries?
I believe there was someone over here first and then this way. Yes. Yes.
Have you had any problem with screening the tips that you receive so that you don't act on false tips? Can the system be abused in that way?
So I do screen. So the answer to that is yes, no. So the answer is yes, I do screen tips. I guess you have to put it into slight context. Go ahead, what were you going to say?
I've received several of these tips, what they are. When I get a tip, it might be a name of a person. I still have to be able to prove that that person committed that crime.
Right.
And all it's done is, instead of me looking for 350,000 people, I'm now just looking at this one. And if it doesn't fit in, physical appearance or fingerprints or whatever the case may be, then, it's not going to be it. But people make mistakes. People look the same. It's my job as a detective to make sure that that person named in that tip is the right one. So it's not on them for that, with the way they have the system. And it's a good system, it works, but then it falls on my shoulders. And it helps me narrow down my search for that. And a lot of times it does work very well.
Thank you.
So that's a perfect example. So just because someone sends me a tip does not guarantee they're going to be arrested, if that's what the answer is. We're still going to do an investigation. So tips are received as an informational source from our detectives to be able to further their investigation or to weed stuff out of their investigation. So it's just useful information for us. Now back over to this side. Now, did you still have a question? In the striped shirt, did you have a question still? No. Okay. Yes, sir.
Speaking of the judges and our state representatives, one thing that just came to mind is maybe an idea for, as we gather more information about how the judges have been doing in the past or their track record. Maybe the CPCs can, how would you say, when the elections come up, that we give them a a vote of approval, like we give you a bronze, a silver, or a gold, or it's like a Yelp, like it comes from us, from the members and from the board, but I think that's something that if somebody can help sift through all the information and where to get the information to where if we see a pattern with the judge, then we can make, as a group, maybe a way to vote on that.
I think that'd be great, so I can send all the chairs and CPC councils so we can talk about that and make.
So unfortunately, Todd, I think we have a lot of concerns about that.
Is that crossing the line?
It's an apolitical group, and I think that crosses the line in politics. There's also a very gray line in judicial matters, you know, where one judge sees a defendant that maybe needs some leniency, another judge may see a defendant that let's throw the book at him. And as we know, and even now, I think maybe our district attorney will talk about this, but there's a lot of gray area on this new no bond hold amendment, where judges don't really know how to interpret that. So I think something like that, if a community group wanted to do that, I think that's a great idea, but I don't think it's quite in the CPC's purview to get involved in elections. James, I'll let you.
I've got a question,
Yes, go for it.
and that is, if you remember, the CPCs weren't created for the purpose of making judgments on anything outside of APD. And so I think when you say it's a great idea to be talking about rating judges or doing any of these other things that are outside of APD, then it's not in the CPC purview. And I think I don't think, as a person who represents APD in this, you have any business recommending that.
No, for him as a community member.
Well, whatever great idea he suggested that this group do, unless it's within the purview of reforming APD, which is what this group was created for, then I think you're wasting my time, and you're not living up to the mission of the CPC.
Thank you.
Here first, and then I'll go to that. Yes.
Okay. Going back on what this gentleman was saying here, if all the decisions that every judge made in the case, what the case was about, and some of the information about the case was on a website, then everyone could sift through all of these items and then give the gold star or whatever recommendations for everybody to see and be able to decipher this is a judgment.
Yeah, and then again, the DAs will be right after me, so that may be something to talk to the DAs about. And some of this stuff we do, just so that you're aware of, on the APD website, a lot of this stuff we do tend to post on some of the, on not all cases, but some cases we do post their rulings on. The person in the red shirt?
Are your rewards based on an arrest or conviction?
Arrest. So I'll tell you, most of my rewards are based on one of two things. So either an arrest or an identification that leads to a warrant. So for example, a case where I'm looking to identify somebody, if the identification of the thing leads to them being given a warrant, then typically I'll pay out on those, even if the subject's not arrested. I will usually pay out on it because obviously that led to a significant advancement of the case because you led to the identification. Now, it may take us a while before we make the arrest, but what you allowed me to do was identify the person so that my detectives, because down the road I may end up having to put that person's image out to ask for people to help me find them. So I'm going to give you credit at least for helping me identify properly who this individual was. So typically those are the two reasons I'll make a payout, is if you gave me a significant identification or an arrest. Those are the typical two big reasons. However, you can also call me, because don't limit it to that. I know I gave that example, but briefly, and then I'll go to your question. You can also contact me on your own crimes. Because I want to take a step back from that and mention, your crimes can be called on too. So let's say you know a crime, and I will carefully use this example. Drug crimes. These are one of my most common call-in crimes. And I'm going to use two examples of a good drug tip and a bad drug tip. So you can call me on self-made crime. Say you know a crime that's being committed in your neighborhood. For an example, I'll bring up this as yours. You were talking about, like, you saw a robbery or a burglary in progress, okay? So you saw a burglary in progress, someone stealing stuff. You snap a photo of the offender, like this, from a distance. You called in, but the guy gets away, and you're like, but he saw me. Like, the guy looks at you, and you're like, oh, dude, the guy knows who I am. I'm terrified. I don't want this guy to know. So what do? You call Crime Stoppers, and you're like, I saw this happen, but I think the guy knows it was me. I want to make this tip, so you give me all the information. You can attach photos. You can send me photos through the web. I attach the photo. I send it off to the detective. We solve a crime because we have a photo. Great tip. You know what I mean? And we put it in for a crime. Going to drug tips. And I'm sorry, I'm going to try to rush through this so that you can get there.
James, we're actually going to have to make this the last. No more comments, I'm sorry.
Oh, so sorry, and I realized we're right at 20 minutes. So drug tip, two types of drug tips, and this will be my thing, because drug tips are my #1 tips after fugitive calls. Drug tips, two types of drug tips that I get. Good drug tips and bad drug tips. So I'll give you bad drug tip first. Here's a bad drug tip. I saw a guy smoking marijuana. I can't do anything with that. Because, one, they could have a medicinal marijuana license. Two, there are tons of people that do drugs in this city. I can't do anything about it. I mean, they just do drugs. Here's a good drug tip. I think this person's dealing drugs. This is their address. This is fantastic if you give me a name, but if you don't give me a name, this is their description. This is when they're coming by the house. This is the high volume of traffic. This is how they do it. During these times, a car walk drives by and they honk their horn, and someone runs out with a package, and they make an exchange, and then they run back into the house. You give me more information, I'm able to send it to my detective, and my detective is able to set up on the house, and they watch during those times. And they watch for the exchange, and they look for the person that you said, and they look for vehicles you give me. So that makes me a good tip. So when you call in and you give me tips, I'm looking for everything. If you send me photos, like if you go on the web, you can attach photos. If you do it on a text, you can text me photos. So the more information you give me on the tip, the better it is my tip, and the more stuff I can send to my detectives. And I apologize, as been stated, I have to end it at that. But if you have more questions for me, I will stick around, and you can grab me at the end. I'll leave it at that, and like I said, I have more literature at the end. So I'll wait until the end, and if you guys have me, you're welcome to grab me.
James, thank you.